Look at that. Isn't that a great layout? You son of a gun.
This campaign is no good.
No good!
Darren and Larry, the original Mad Men on Bewitched.
Hi, I'm John Mallows, and welcome to this special edition of Connect with Me. It's the world of sports today. Today we have a superstar in our building, in our studio. His name is Lorenzo Neal. He's a local guy. Went and played at Fresno State under Jim Sweeney. Played in the NFL for many years, many teams. We're going to talk to Lorenzo Neal. Hey, no phone calls today. This show is on tape. We're back in a moment with Lorenzo. You know, we pamper every guest that comes in here. I don't care who it is, even if you don't know them. I mean, we get regular people, we get famous people. You might remember, and not long ago, we had Tom Flores, the former head coach of the Oakland/Los Angeles Raiders here not long ago. He's a friend of ours. He's going to come back soon here. And today we have another sports figure, a star that's very well recognized, very well known. His name is Lorenzo Neal. Let's go to the videotape and I'll show you exactly what I am talking about. He played 16 seasons in the NFL, 8 different teams. Want me to name them? Oh, okay. Saints, Jets, Bucks, Titans, Bengals, Chargers, Ravens, Raiders. Was that fast enough for you? As a fullback, he was considered one of the best blocking backs in NFL history. He helped solidify 2 careers, Eddie George of Tennessee, LaDainian Tomlinson of San Diego. Of course, he was the lead blocker for 9 straight 1,000-yard rushers. Yes, he helped the careers of many young men in the NFL. He helped protect Super Bowl MVP quarterback Joe Flacco at one time, playing for Baltimore. Remember, Lorenzo Neal appeared in the Super Bowl as well himself while playing for Tennessee. He made the Pro Bowl 4 times. Look at the little trickery right there against the Buffalo Bills. Remember that last-second victory? Live in our studio right now is Lorenzo Neal, the former Fresno State star, rushed for more than 2,400 yards while playing under the guidance of the one and only Jim Sweeney. We'll talk about that, of course, the passing of Jim Sweeney, and, of course, that memorial they had for him at Bulldog Stadium recently. We're back with Lorenzo Neal. Now, remember, no phone calls today. This show is on tape. We're back with Connect with Me on MeTV Fresno in just one moment.
Ventura TV Appliance Center. We're the save energy, save time, save money place. The Energy Star qualified #1 rated high-efficiency Cabrio from Whirlpool Place. You heard right. Right now, save big on select Whirlpool Cabrio laundry pairs and pay no interest when paid in full within 6 months. At the hometown low price, think outside the big box place. Since 1951, Ventura TV Appliance Center. We're working hard to be your place.
And we're back with our special edition here of Connect with Me. This program is on tape, so no phone calls. Usually we ask you to call in and we get, sometimes we just load up the lines all at one time. Very short segment here. So Lorenzo Neal, good to have you on the program today. Good to see you.
John, it's good to be seen. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, well, thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it. It's the first time that you and I have actually met. I've seen you from afar and admired you for many years. But let's talk, I want to talk right off the bat about Jim Sweeney because he had such a major influence on a lot of different people. He recently passed away. Recently we had the memorial at Bulldog Stadium. Explain what kind of an influence he had in your life and is still having now.
Yeah, Jim Sweeney will never be forgotten. John, when you watch what Jim Sweeney did, his impact on the community, on the valley, on the state, and on a nation is unbelievable. This guy was a beacon. I mean, he stood for what's right. He stood for his players. He was always saying, coach me, coach me. He was always saying, I'm an extension of your family. This is a coach that can walk into a living room with your mom and dad in instant gratification. He's able to grab your parents and instantly he wins them over because of just the way he is and his aura. And that's what he was able to do with my parents. I think he was able to do that with other parents. And he was always there for their kids. I mean, there was guys that got in trouble, that flunked out of school. Jim Sweeney, with open hands, would always welcome them back and always tried to make us become young men and be better people in the community. And Jim Sweeney, his legacy wasn't just football. John, football is what we did. It's not who we are. And that's what he was good at, just helping us out and having a great family. Kevin Sweeney, his daughters, and all the people that he surrounded himself with. Jim Sweeney was he was a leader for a lot of men that didn't have fathers, didn't have mothers, and he did a great job of keeping guys grounded and focused.
Do you think because he was authentic, he was the real deal, and he told it like it was?
Yeah.
Was that part of it?
Without a doubt. I remember Jim, there's been many a times where, where I might have fumbled the ball and he was like, Lorenzo, get over here. Come sit down beside me. You're not going back in the game. He was a guy that understood, if I give these men what they want, if I give them what they need, I'd rather be needed instead of wanted. Because when you want something, you want a new phone. You want the new iPhone, all this modern technology, kids want. But make you be needed. When you need something, you need necessities. That's water, that's food, that's clothes. That's what we need. The want part, Jim made you, I'm not going to take away the want. He made you be needed if you wanted to be needed. And that's what Jim done that was so unique about his coaching style, his personality. He wanted to say, I need you to step up and do the things that I want you to do. Take care of the ball, be disciplined, be committed. Those are things that you need. Those aren't things that you want.
So he made you feel like you were needed on the team. You were needed as his friend. But what did he teach you about life, everyday living? Forget about the football part of it.
And when that's what his teaching philosophy was like, because he wanted people to know that you had to live with a purpose. And instead of saying, hey, look, if you messed up or you fumbled the ball, give you the ball again and didn't hold you accountable, then if you don't have those things, how are you going to be accountable in life? Jim was like the guy that said, hey, look, when you lose, you have a great deal of resolve. Resolve not to lose again. He always wanted us to take setbacks as temporary, because he understood if you fall and if you don't get up, then you're a failure. Jim would talk about, his parents coming from Butte, Montana, being a dad, worked in a coal mine. He was a coal miner, come from a coal miner family. This guy had a background that was so well versed that he could relate to the poor black kids, the successful people. And Jim, that's what he had, a unique ability, because he was a self-made, successful person. He wasn't born with the golden spoon. He was born, to a coal miner. Brothers and sisters, had to fight growing up, had to work hard for everything he had. And then at the age of 34, this guy had 7, 8 children, by the way. So he had to suffer. He had to go through. He had to coach. Started off in Ratcliffe Stadium, not having 2,000 people there.
That's amazing.
He built a dream. It's a phenomenal story what Jim Sweeney's done.
So he taught you how to have confidence in yourself. That's what I'm getting out of this.
No question. No question.
Is that right? To build the confidence, have the confidence in yourself. So in other words, if you didn't have confidence in yourself, he had the confidence in you.
Yes, Jim Sweeney made you believe that you could move a mountain. How did he do it? By basic fundamentals. People don't need to be told what to do, John. They just ought to be reminded. And when Jim, he had a unique ability to gravitate toward young men to say, look, if you want to achieve, then you first have to believe in yourself. And how does he do that? He builds the basic fundamentals. Taking care of yourself, being accountable, being on time, have a great deal of resolve. He had some basic principles that he wanted you to have to build a base. And if you want to build that bully, first build that base.
You told me when I first talked to you, you said, football is what I did. It doesn't define, and it didn't define who I am. What do you mean by that, Lorenzo?
I think that so many people, we look and we want to put athletes and we want to make them our superstars. Because if you look at sports, you think about racism, you think about just sports. What brought this country together? You think about Hank Aaron, you think about the ones that came before me. They built the foundation. You think about the military, Jackie Robinson's story, all these different guys. Being able to play basketball. You look at the Celtics, bringing in Bill Russell and all these
Chamberlain,
guys. No question.
Elgin Baylor.
No question. And so that's how our country, sports brought the division together. Our country was divided.
But you know what Bill Russell went through? He wrote a book. I mean, he went through HELL while he was playing.
Right, because he did, but here's the opposite.
He was a hero in that town, yet he was hated by so many people.
He was a hero on the court.
Yes.
He was revered for what he did.
Right.
And that's playing basketball. and
Right.
being able to win 7, 8, 9, 10 championships. But he was also drafted, if you look at, to St. Louis. And he said, I couldn't know that I couldn't play there. Boston gave him that opportunity. And when you have an opportunity is never lost. It's just given to someone else. And what Bill was able to do, Bill Russell, by self-preservation, by being accountable, by being a leader, people were able to see him in a different light, just not as a black basketball player. He had substance. He had character. He had credibility.
Right.
And as life began to go on, later on in his life, he became more and more successful. You look at Muhammad Ali. It went from Cassius Clay to Muhammad Ali. Why? He had to stand for something. And it was hard. You look at Tommy Smith from Lemoore, the 64 Olympics,
Exactly
the Black
right.
Power.
Yeah.
There was a movement. And if those guys weren't the pioneer, at the time they did it, they were looked as ostracized and saying, what's wrong with these individuals? They were making a statement. And they said, I have a platform, I have a stage to make my statement. And look where it's got us today.
Well, you know, you and I can only imagine what Jackie Robinson and Bill Russell went through. Even though
Sure.
you're African American, we can only still imagine because they lived it, they went through it. I mean, it was amazing what Jackie Robinson, for example, had to go through. But we're talking with Lorenzo Neal here, former Fresno State football player. We're going to talk to him about what he's doing now. Of course, he played in the NFL as well. This is a tape program, no phone calls today, but we're back with our special guest in just a moment.
Frigidaire. We introduced the first home freezer, the first pulsator agitator washer, and now we introduce the Frigidaire Orbit Clean Dishwasher, designed with a unique wash arm that gives you 4 times more water coverage for a consistently better clean. Frigidaire, over 90 years of legendary innovation.
See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
And welcome back. We're talking with Lorenzo Neal. We appreciate his time in coming in and spending some time with us here on Connect with Me, a special program on this day, World of Sports, of course. And Lorenzo, let me ask you, compare the athletes of yesteryear, like say the 50s and 60s, compared to the athletes now, whether they're African American, white. Does racism still exist to a certain extent?
Yeah, well, no question. It still exists. But I think that sometimes it's reverse racism. I think that sometimes...
In what way?
I think the minorities, sometimes us as Afro-Americans, we think that it's entitlement. And it's not. It's a privilege to play in the National Football League, where we're grown men playing a kid's game, getting a king's ransom.
Right.
And Bill Russell and those guys, and Muhammad Ali, and the guys that came before us, they had to be great. They had to be exceptions to the rule because the owners, the players, society didn't want them in that game.
But Lorenzo, you weren't given a shot in the NFL because you were African American. You had to work your way. You had to be good enough to make the team.
Sure, but
You had to have the talent.
No question, you have to have the talent. But what I'm saying, when Muhammad Ali, Bill Russell, Hank Aaron, those guys, they had to be different. They had to be on a different level.
In what way?
They had to be great athletes. Not just now.
They had to be greater than the average.
No
is what you're
question.
saying.
Way better than the average, because here's the deal. The norm wasn't for those guys allowed. They were like Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer. They wouldn't invite him, but because Rudolph had his nose so bright, he was able to guide Santa Claus sleigh.
Human beings, too, with the racism that they faced, they had the ability somehow to turn the other cheek.
Right, that's
amazing.
But those are my points. My point is those
And the
guys
athletes
were
today
and that's my point is those guys had to be way better because the owners, the media, the fans,
the white owners,
they didn't want those guys to play.
Yeah.
Now it's different. You see interracial relationships. You see black, white, Mexican, green, doesn't matter. You see Condoleezza Rice being in, Secretary of Defense. You see Obama, the president. So we have changed. Our culture has changed. You have, Jordan being a minority owner. You have black GMs. So the game has changed. But now, because freedom is no longer free, now guys believe that it's empowerment and entitlement. It doesn't mean that. And so many guys now, because you have these rules and unions and they protect the players, but sometimes because guys are lazy, why guys only last 2 to 3 years now? Because they don't work anymore. The work ethic has left because our country has become so self-dependent and self-gratification. I can sue you. I don't like you. It's discrimination. It's all these different things. And it's not just blacks. It's the world we live
everyone.
in. It's changing.
Yeah.
And everyone, if you say something, if you tell how you really feel, freedom is no longer free. Now you are looked at as different. If you stand up for your principles, what you believe in now, depending on what they are, you can be looked at as outside the box. They're calling bad good now and good bad. So it's interesting when you watch that and you watch some of these athletes. They have all the athletic ability in the world, but they don't have the work ethic. They don't have the leadership. They don't have the qualities to be leaders. And what America has done, which I think is such a farce, is all of a sudden you have a young man that comes from nothing, doesn't know his dad, doesn't know his mom, and all of a sudden he's been used to shooting craps in the ghetto, and that's nothing wrong with it. That's what he knows. You take him to a dinner and ask him how to use a knife, a fork, a dinner fork, a dessert spoon, a dessert fork, all these different things. Doesn't know it outside in, doesn't know what a salad fork is. And all of a sudden now, because they're athletes, because we're looked at them as gladiators, you want to push them and say, now these are your role models, these are your leaders. Shame on us.
Something's wrong with that picture.
No question.
I mean, you've always had lazy athletes. I mean, that goes back to
right.
that goes back centuries. But is there a difference between the lazy athlete now as opposed to the 60s or 70s?
No question, because
of the money?
Because of the money. No, because in the 60s and 70s, it was such a privilege, especially for the minorities.
Yeah.
You just didn't get in. If you were average, you wasn't getting in. Now, if you're average, you still have the opportunity because it's predicated on potential.
Right.
So many guys now in professional sports, they have potential. It's not that they're great team, now that they're great team players, not that they're just great, smarts on the game. Guys are getting drafted for potential and athletic ability, but they're not getting drafted for their knowledge, their leadership, their character. And I think the pendulum has swung, and you have to be very, very careful because you create a space out there now where anything's gone because anything goes, and you kind of dilute the product.
I look at a role model, and I look at a guy like Trent Dilfer, and I'll tell you why. I would say he's the last guy on earth that you would expect to win the Super Bowl. Okay, that's number one. He not only won it, he was like co-MVP. And in his personal life, he lost his son to a very rare illness. I almost lost my daughter. She almost died at the age of 2. And at the Jim Sweeney Memorial, I mean, he was crying like a baby. Many people were. There's no question about it. But isn't Trent Dilfer the kind of role model that you would want your son to maybe be like him? I'm just using Trent as an example. He went through so much, and his belief in
the higher power. I think Trent's phenomenal. Look at Brad Bell, phenomenal. Look at Drew Brees, phenomenal. LaDainian Tomlinson, phenomenal. All these different guys around the league that I can name you. You look at Michael Jordan. You look at some of the guys you look at a Kobe Bryant, and you look at a Chris Paul. You look at some of these cats that are just phenomenal people, good people. And
I guess I mentioned Trent because the thing that he went through with his son. You don't ever get over that. You take that to your grave.
No,
look
you
at
don't.
The kind of person that he turned out to be. Amazing.
Trent's a phenomenal guy and a great man. And yeah, of course, I would want my son and my daughter to want to emulate a guy like a Trent Dilfer because he's a phenomenal person. But I think that what happens is humans, we look to say, I want you to be that person or this person. And that's the wrong thing to do because once you do that, you're putting your faith and your trust in man. And here's the thing about man. We are not perfect. And you're going to have ups and downs. Trent's going to argue with his wife. You're going to argue with your wife. You're going to have moments. Everyone does. And when you look and you put this much faith in individuals, what happens is you're looking at that person so hard and you're trying to emulate that person so hard. Anytime they make a mistake, now we're like, okay, so who's next? I don't think that you do that. You say, hey, this is a great person. I love their characteristics, things that they do that are great. But when you say, hey, this is what you do, we set ourselves up for failure because there's no one's great.
You're saying be yourself.
No question.
Just be yourself.
Just be yourself. But try to be better than what you know that you can be. Because everyone in the world, I don't care who you are, have darkness to them. I don't care who you are.
Everybody's got a skeleton somewhere.
No question. I looked at my buddy Junior Seau, who we lost to suicide. It's not. And I spoke on many ESPN and the Jim Rome show, and I said if people was honest with themselves, not that you go out and you get a gun and you put it beside your bed, not that you grab your car and you get in, you turn the car and you're getting ready to kill you, but we've all said, what would life be without us? Haven't we all had bad days? Their suicide is prevalent. Every day there's someone deciding to take their self-life. Because Junior was this icon, this pillar, people don't understand. He still had problems, and we all do. But we don't go and put the gun by our bed and actually. But we've all had thoughts that are dark, and people won't be honest with themselves and say that they haven't. I think they're
not telling
the truth.
No, they aren't. We're talking to Lorenzo Neal. We got to take a break here on Connect with Me on MeTV Fresno. We got a special program today talking to Lorenzo. And sorry, I apologize. We can't take any of your phone calls. Usually you guys call in, but next time. All right, we'll get Lorenzo live next time on a program. We're back with more in just a moment.
And now, the Alan Brady Show.
Hi, I'm Alan Brady. You remember me from the Alan Brady Show?
Yes, if Alan needs any help. Shut up, Mel. Yes, sir. Shut up, Mel. Shut up, Mel. Yes, sir.
I had the best TV writers on my show. Rob Petrie, Sally Rogers.
Hey, I got it. Don't anybody move.
And Buddy Sorrell.
Well, how you moved, I forgot it.
On the Dick Van Dyke Show here.
Alan, if you're...
Shut up, Mel. On MeTV.
Weeknights at 9:30, 8:30 Central on MeTV.
What's the matter with you?
We're back with Lorenzo Neal. And Lorenzo, you live in Fresno, and let's get into what you're doing now just for a couple of minutes before we run out of time here. We only got about 7 minutes left in the show. What are you doing now? I know you're a broadcaster, right?
Yeah, I work with Bay Area Sports, Comcast, Bay Area Sports Net, work with the Niners and Raiders. So really had a great year this year for one of our Bay teams, the Niners. Raiders not so good. But
you've got the gift of gab. You're a perfect broadcaster.
I've
good. Seen your show. I've seen your show.
I love it. I love to talk. I mean, what are you doing up here? Let me have this thing. I'm taking over.
And you're articulate. You're articulate. So what can I say?
No, and it's fun. It's great to be able to talk about football, something that you have a passion for, that you played so long. And I have also a company called Worldwide Athlete. We provide scholarships for student athletes. It's a great opportunity to help young men and young women get scholarships. And you probably don't know this, John, but 60% of golf scholarships aren't even used. And we try to, encourage young student athletes. Hey, look, there's money and there's financial aid out there for you.
So say that again now. 60%.
60% of golf scholarships aren't even used. Phenomenal. Parents don't understand. They put such an emphasis to the athletic director and the coach and saying, why didn't you give my son or my daughter the scholarship? They don't understand when that coach leaves or they go home, they have a family. They can't, for 80 kids, go pick up the phone, call colleges. They don't have the time. Right. Counselors, they don't know. And so what we do is provide that. So it's not the school's responsibility. It's parents. It's other, for them to get involved.
Give me some advice, because I was a sports. I know you don't know this about me, but I was a sportscaster for many, many years. Covered a lot of pro events back in the 70s and the 80s, and I'm an old man. Anyway, but my son, who's 11, he's kind of. I never push him to be like anyone, to be like me or any athlete, or push him to be in this sport. But what I do push him to do is to get off of his electronics and take part in some type of exercise or athletic event. Am I doing the right thing?
No question. See, what happens is parents believe that their kids are their friend. You're a parent.
I don't expect him to play in the NFL. I don't expect him to play in the major leagues. I don't expect any of that. I just want him to get off the couch and go run around.
I know, but as growing up, I lived in Lemoore, was getting up, feeding animals, running, riding bikes, and training. Our parents, they didn't allow us. It was like, go outside, you're going to get outside, you're going to go ride your bike and play basketball. Sometimes, right now, because of what we don't want our kids to suffer. Right. Parents don't want their kids to go through what happened. So what do? We don't empower them. So what do? We make up the bed for them. We get the garbage taken. They don't have to cut the lawn. Guess what? We got a gardener. Coach, it's our fault. And then we wonder what's wrong with our youth. Why are we losing our youth? Look no further but us. We want the 5-bedroom home. We want the 2 cars. And what happens? And now we're at work.
TV.
We want cable TV. So whether parents are working, our kids are raising themselves, and that's why these games and all kinds of things are taking over. Our kids don't want to work. They don't have a choice.
Crazy, Lorenzo, with my kids with these games and these things. Get out and get some exercise. I was out all day on my bike.
No question.
Skateboarding and
But you didn't have a choice. And now as parents, sometimes we said, hey, you got to rationalize with their kid. You don't. They're kids. They want to be led.
Right.
We have to lead as parents. We have to lead our children. If we don't, they will be self-sufficient and they will not get it done.
My son played Little League for the first time last year. I saw the parent involvement, which alarmed me. I mean, that's nothing new. Are parents part of the problem? They want their kids to live their lives how they envision it. They want to live the dream through their kids. Is that wrong?
I think so. You don't. A lot of parents get out there and say, go do that and push. That's not what I'm saying. As a parent, I'm saying you get a kid. If he starts out, that's why I think wrestling is a phenomenal sport.
Mm-hmm.
Being a wrestler, it's you and one individual out there on the mat. You can't blame it on the first baseman. You can't blame it on your pitcher. You can't blame it on the quarterback in football.
Why are these parents, though, so pushy? They want to get their kids. They want to be the star pitcher. They want to be the star track athlete or the star football player. You're not playing my son enough.
Right.
Why are these parents so demanding?
I think most of those parents usually are the parents that underachieved. And they're saying, man, I'm not going to let my child underachieve. And they live through their kid, which is wrong, because that now pushes their kid off of the sport, and that's what's not need to happen. You don't need to do that.
Remember that movie Diary of a Wimpy Kid? I think of my kids when I see that movie.
Oh,
I
wow.
want to get, and I love my kids. We've only got 3 minutes.
Wow.
But I want to talk about this Fresno Unified thing. They're talking about splitting the district up. They're going to maybe take it to a vote. I don't know if that's going to happen. But why is it that Sanger and Central Unified, the Latinos and the African Americans are doing much better in the API scores in those smaller school districts than Fresno Unified? Is Fresno Unified too big? What's going on?
I think it might be a little big, but I think you have guys like Chris Williams, who's superintendent over there at Central Unified, who's getting involved, rolling up their sleeves. I think that you have in Central Unified, you have more of the teachers kind of studying and prepping the kids for the tests,
right,
and getting them ready for that and doing a better job of preparing the kids for the test. And you have to hold kids accountable. Kids are not coming to school. Fresno Unified, Central Unified, they're showing up a little bit more.
But Sanger is doing better than than Fresno Unified.
But Sanger Unified, you have to realize you have some good leaders there, and not that you don't have a lot in Fresno Unified.
Yeah.
I'd be remiss
Mark
if I didn't say
Johnson's
that.
the superintendent over in Sanger. He does a great job.
Phenomenal job. But you have as a leader, you have to put pressure on your people. You, as leadership, is loyalty, education, accountability, discipline, respect, service, honesty, integrity, perseverance. You have to have those integrities first in order to be a leader. Too many people want to lead, but in order to make a good leader, you have to be willing to follow. And I think that's what these unified, it's hard. Teachers are now having 35, 40 kids in the class, and it's hard for one individual. It starts at home. It starts after school program. Overcrowding. It's tough for these teachers. It's really tough. So I feel for our teachers, our educators, because they should be the one who should be paying these $1 million contracts for what they have. And we have to get our teachers help. Our education system is broke. I think that our healthcare system is broke. I look at this in our taxes. Politics is broke. You have Democrats on one side trying to say, if you don't vote for us, we're gonna go back into slavery pretty much. And you have Republicans saying, hey, if you get Democrats, they're gonna raise your taxes so much. So we say we're one nation and we're all under God, but these two parties, it's causing division. It's not meant. These things weren't meant to cause this much division, and now we're not getting along. So. It's
quickly, 30 seconds. You're a man of faith?
Sure.
Believe in God?
Absolutely.
You rely on God?
Absolutely.
Every day?
Absolutely. I should rely on God even more. I think it's what's wrong with our country. I think we're losing our way a little bit.
Good to see you. Would you come back and be on a live program?
Absolutely.
Take some calls from our viewers.
No question.
Okay, we'll book you before you leave here. And, I got to tease you a little bit because Tom Flores was here a few months ago.
Yes.
He's got 4 Super Bowl rings.
I know.
Sorry, I had to bring that up.
I know.
I apologize, Lorenzo. Okay, you can hit me later.
I should.
All right, Lorenzo Neal, our special guest here. It's good to have him on. Good to talk to him. Thank you for being with us. And you've been watching a special edition of Connect with Me here on Me TV Fresno. See you next time.
here goes.
Some shows force you to laugh. But with Mary Tyler Moore, laughter comes easily. Mary Tyler Moore. More laughs and more.
The more the merrier.
It'll tickle your funny bone.
Would you like to borrow a feather?
Weeknights at 9, 8 Central on MeTV.
That's all, folks.